There's only one member here. Mr. Burnson, Mrs. Chick, Mr. Fear, Ms. Galanter, would you please come to the council chamber? Mr. Wax.
Person, Chick, Fuhrer, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Pacheco, Padilla, Ridley Thomas, Florence, Wax, Walters, Ferraro, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
So, council will please come to order. This is a meeting of the City Council for the City of Los Angeles on the 17th day of October, the year 2000. There are 15 council districts in the city. The regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phone. The first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Holden moves, Mr. Hernandez seconds. There's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
There's no objections, unanimous vote.
Mr. President, before starting the regular agenda, there's items requested to be continued. Item number 20, a request that matter be continued one day until October 18th.
If there's no objections, unanimous vote.
Item number 26, also requested that matter be continued one day until October 18th.
There's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Items number 1 through 3 on the regular agenda are items noticed for public hearing.
Anybody want to be heard on any of those items? 1, 2, 3? We'll close the hearing on 1 and 2. We have people who want to be heard on 3, so we'll call on Sandra Obano, Xavier Flores, Soledad Auditory, and Ethan Oliveira. You want to be heard, you better come up to the microphone. No, take the other microphone. Sandra, did you want to be heard? Please.
Buenos días,
Buenos días.
mi nombre es Sandra Obando y yo vengo representando a San Fernando Garden.
Good morning, my name is Sandra Obando and I'm representing San Fernando Garden Resident Corporation.
Y no estamos de acuerdo nosotros, y vengo de la ciudad de Pacoima y estamos en contra de la marqueta que quieren poner la superior en nuestra ciudad porque ya tenemos muchas y se incrementa mucho la venta de alcohol y no queremos eso, queremos una cosa positiva para nuestros hijos.
I live in the city of Pacoima and here to against the alcohol license for the Superior Market that's going to be located in the city of Pacoima. We need positive alternatives for our youth. We don't need any more additional alcohol licenses.
No estamos opuestos a que pongan la marqueta, sino simplemente que no vendan alcohol, que no le den la licencia al alcohol, porque es mucho, en nuestra ciudad ya estamos saturados de licorerías.
We are not against Superior Market, we are just against the alcohol license.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Flores,
There's two Floreses.
go ahead. You want to be heard? Anything, to say something different than what was previously said.
Claro que voy a hacer. Mi nombre es Efraín Olvera Flores. Soy presidente de la Sociedad de Hedon and Mercer y estoy en contra de todo lo que se relacione con alcohol y tabaco. No queremos más crímenes alrededor de Pacoima.
My name is Efrain Olvera. I am the president of Haddon Mercer Homeowner Association, and we are against any additional alcohol establishments in our area in Pacoima.
Estamos saturados de licencias de licor y no queremos más crímenes alrededor de Pacoima. De por sí tiene mala fama Pacoima, ya no queremos que siga creciendo.
As it is, Pacoima has a bad negative stereotype of crime, so therefore we do not wish to have any additional alcohol establishments in Pacoima.
Es todo lo que tengo que decir de momento. No estoy en contra de la marqueta de ningún negocio que venga a Pacoima, pero estoy en contra de todo lo que huela a crimen. No alcohol, no tabaco, no crimen. No more crimen. Gracias.
I'm not against the Superior Market. I am just against the alcohol license. We do not wish to have any additional alcohol in the area because it will result in a higher crime rate. Thank you.
The next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Soledad Alatorre. I represent Parents for a Better Future. I came from Pacoima, and we really are against the liquor, to the stores to sell liquor. We don't want more crimes in Pacoima. ¿Dónde está esta niña? We don't need more liquor stores. We need stores, food stores, schools, education, but no crime. Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz said, hombres necios que acusáis sin razón, sin ver que soy la ocasión de lo mismo que acusáis. If you admit liquor, you admit a crime. We don't want a crime in Pacoima. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, next.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker.
My name is Javier Flores. I'm Executive Director of Puebla y Salud and also here representing the San Fernando and Pacoima Alcohol ATOD Policy Coalitions. We've had occasion to come before you just a couple of weeks ago to ask you
How you doing?
to please support a motion that was then submitted by Councilman Padilla to not grant a license to a small business that was applying at that time. There was a small restaurant, and a lot of you may question what a restaurant has to do with problems in a community, because those kinds of licenses seem benign. This one is not a liquor store. This one is a Superior Market is applying. It is a huge market, a Sam's type, and we understand that they sell a great deal of alcohol. It would increase availability in our community, and that is the issue. The simple equation that we found to be true over and over again, and 30 years of research has proven, is that the more alcohol availability you have in a community, the more alcohol-related problems you're going to find in those communities. That means DUIs, spousal abuse, and a whole number of other crimes. We've been fighting alcohol availability in Pacoima for over 10 years now because of its association to crime. We're asking you please to support, once again, the motion that's going to be presented to you today by Councilman Padilla, not to allow a license to Superior. Thank you.
Okay. Give us your name, please.
Good morning, I'm Joanne Balteras. I'm a resident of the Northeast Valley, and also a past resident of the low-income apartment buildings that are on Laurel Canyon and Osborne. As a single mom living in that apartment complex and having to work and go to school to try to move myself out of that particular area, it was very difficult to monitor my kids at all times. At times, they were latchkey kids due to the fact that we couldn't afford babysitting. This is a high crime area, and we know, and if you would check by studies, that another liquor license in this particular area, being the fact that it is so close to an elementary school, is not needed. As legislators, I would believe that it is your responsibility to make sure that you put some safety factors into this community, and so we're depending on your vote. And we also concede with Councilmember Alex Padilla, and we ask that you would support him today.
Okay, thank you. Jay Milner.
Good morning, Councilman. I am Jay Milner. I am a Vice President with Superior Markets. And as you know, prior to this meeting convening, we have withdrawn our application for the PCRN. But I would like to have on record some statements about our company. We are a full-service grocery store. The actual liquor sales in our company constitute less than 3% of our total volume. We have been in business since 1981 and have never had a serious violation regarding sale of alcohol to minors, intoxicated personnel, or anything that was negative to our company. We are full-service, community-oriented. We hire from the community. We will bring approximately 200 full-time jobs to the Pacoima area. We are a good citizen. We look forward to working with the council to resolve any of the differences that they may have with us, and look forward to working with the local community-based groups in the city of Pacoima. We would be glad at this time to set up any kind of meeting that you would deem necessary for us to continue with this project. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the cards we have, so the public hearing is closed. But let's vote on 1 and 2 first. Item 1 and 2 are ordinances. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Item number 3, Mr. Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, you've heard the community speak loud and clearly as to what the issues and the concerns are as it pertains to this new market. They've spoken to the issues and concerns about crime in the area. They've spoken to the issues and concerns about the density and the number of alcohol establishments and permits in the area. I think the message has been sent very clearly, and I hope to count on your support for this motion to deny this particular application. Now, it's welcome news that the owner has decided to withdraw the application. That's what I heard in the comments made this morning. And although it's great to hear that, I still have not seen proof of that. So I would ask that the council still go forward with this vote so we have it on record that the permit has been denied. And I would also mention to the store owners that your comments about the jobs to be created and the other services you hope to provide the community, you still have that option. The store can still open and not have to sell the alcohol that you're asking for today. And with that, colleagues, I ask for your support.
Okay, you heard the motion by Mr. Padilla. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. That means it's been denied, Mr. Padilla. Thank you. Okay. Next item.
Mr. President, item number 28, a request by Council District 7 to continue that matter until November 7th.
There's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Items number 11 through 29, excuse me, items number 4 through 10 are items for which public hearings have been held.
4 through 10, are there any specials? No? Mr. Tuttle would like to speak on 8, so we'll call that special. Any other specials? If not, prepare the roll on 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Items number 11 through 29 are items for which public hearings have not been held. Council has acted on 20 and 26 and 28.
Anybody want to be heard on any of those items? We have no cards. Anybody want to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Any specials by council members? 11 through 29. Any specials? If not, prepare the roll on 11 through 29 with the exception of 20, 26, and 28, which have been continued. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved.
Mr. President, item number 30 from the continuation agenda is the item for which public hearing has been held.
Item 30, is there any discussion on item 30? Any discussion? If not, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 31 on the continuation agenda is a public hearing has not been held item.
Anybody in the audience wants to be heard on item 31? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion on this item?
Special on that, just one question I want to ask.
No, go ahead and ask the question.
Okay, the question I just wanted to ask is, because I thought this was the accounting of the cost for the deployment, and I understand it's not, but the original motion asked for the accounting of the deployment costs in 30 days after the convention. It's been long since 30 days, and I'm wondering when we can expect that report. From the title of this, I thought that's what this was, but it isn't.
Is there anybody in the audience who can answer that question?
If
Mr. Wax?
I could, Ms. Goldberg, and this wasn't what this motion is,
Yeah, no, I thought it was
but you're
from the
right,
title.
and it's not only the costs. We had an agreement that there would be an audit of all the city costs, direct and indirect, police
Right.
department, fire, city attorney, staff, transportation, traffic, the entire cost
Right.
of the city services.
Within
And
30 days after
Mr.
the convention.
Fujioka is in charge of that. He could perhaps give us a status report. It's something I've been anxiously awaiting because I think that you'll find that the total costs were
Good.
pretty astronomical. But Mr. Fujioka, what is the status of the
So
audit?
when do we get it? That's all I really want to know.
We have we received information from the departments with respect to hard costs, as far as what we characterize as direct costs. We also received information in terms of indirect costs, or we call it soft costs, in-kind information. We're in the process of verifying some of those costs because, to be honest, we think that there were some costs that were inappropriately attributed to the DNC. And before I report to this body, I want to make sure everything is as accurate as possible.
Well, that's good. When do we think we'll get it, is all I'm really asking.
We just started to receive the information last week. Yesterday, I received a report from Mr. Martinez and through his process, and we're going through it right now. I'd like to give you a definitive date, if not later this week.
Okay.
Okay?
But tick, tick, tick.
Oh,
I'd like to see it before I go.
I absolutely understand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
That's all I
you.
wanted to ask.
Okay, then prepare the roll on item 31. Tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
That is approved. Okay, the next item,
Item number 8 called special, so the
Mr.
city
Tuttle.
controller.
Mr. Tuttle, did you want to be heard on 8?
Thank you, Mr. President. Shall I go ahead, sir?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm here in reference to, I'm Rick Tuttle, Los Angeles City Controller. I'm here with Mr. Armstrong, and Ms. Lund may join me shortly. I'm here in relationship to item 8, Ad hoc Committee on Gangs and Juvenile Justice relative to various actions regarding to the fiscal audit of the LA Bridges program. And while I have no problem with virtually all these recommendations, I think many of them are well-founded, we do have some concerns with item 1 relative to the resolution of LA Bridges question costs, questioned by us, resulting from fiscal reviews conducted by the Controller's Office as detailed in the attachments of the CDD report dated July 10. Ladies and gentlemen, in July 21, we sent a letter. This was after committee met. We sent a letter to you raising our concerns on this matter. And as just in the normal council processes move forward, since the letter was sent after the committee met, I realized that this was not in your file raising the concerns which, in our judgment, have yet to be adequately addressed. These are concerns having to do with question costs. The other items that are listed in the proposal from the committee, we have no problem with. But item 1 is an area that we think cries out for further discussion before the committee, though we may have some discussion here if you want to have it, about our concerns on these question costs. And by sending that part back to committee, it would enable us to have the opportunity to resolve these issues. The costs of the expenditure's already been made, ladies and gentlemen, but the approval, if you were to approve item 8, number 1, that would also indicate your approval of those costs, and we think you deserve the benefit of, and your committee deserves the benefit, and then the council as a whole, of hearing our concerns in some detail, and for there to be also the opportunity for the CDD to state its case. So, in view of the fact that I realized that our letter of July, though we sent it to the council offices, was not in the file, wasn't before you for your deliberations, I thought I'd better get over here today and raise this concern. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anybody else want to be?
And so my hope is that someone would move to send back to committee so there'd be the opportunity for this discussion on the question costs.
That's on item 1?
Number 1 of item 8. Otherwise, we have no problem with this, no problem at all with this other set of recommendations.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez?
Members of the council, Mr. Ridley Thomas is the chair of the ad hoc committee that was reviewing this, and he might have some additional comments. One of the things that was bothersome to me is when the controller's audit, and from my perspective, it was an audit, was released, there was a lot of criticism that was associated with that release, and it was done in the form of a press conference. And he was questioning, in essence, the expenditure of $480,000 out of $9.5 million plus. Now, that, from my perspective, was less than 5%. Then when there was further review of the 5% that was being questioned, what you need to understand is a lot of it was staff CDD work in regards to working with agencies. To make a long story short, I think $14,700 had to be paid back because it was spent wrong, and I'm talking about $14,700 out of $9.5 million by a system that has over 17 areas and who knows how many total organizations participating. And we have a very complicated accounting system. Now, the question I was asking is how much money did we spend on this audit? And how much money did we spend in trying to rectify things? My real concern is if we put up systems that make it complicated for service providers to provide the service, and if we don't have sufficient personnel to give the correct direction, and by that, someone being told they can spend the monies on this kind of an activity and then being told they couldn't spend this money on this kind of activity, there's a lot of confusion that arises. So there has to also come a question when we, as basically a public entity, and I understand it's public funds, have to ask ourselves, what's the best way to spend that money? What you have today is a report that says basically we're out of whack for about $20,000 out of $9.5 million, and also says that $14,700 had to be paid back because it was basically not authorized expenditure out of $9.5 million. I'm just trying to explain that because that's where we're at today. And I think that we want all the I's and the T's crossed. I just don't know how much money we want to be spending to do that. Now, if the controller was saying we were out of whack $4 million, I'd have a different story. And so I'm trying to put it in perspective of a whole. Keeping in mind, from my perspective, that I'm trying to do something to deal with the prevention of gang activity in neighborhoods. I'm trying to work with community-based organizations and basically do something more than just be critical of them. And so I have no problem with what the controller is asking today, but I am asking the question, how much time and money are we going to spend doing that for the dollar figures you're talking about when you look at it in the perspective of the whole?
Mark speaks. Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, as chair of the committee, we took this matter very seriously. 3 members of the committee were present, and I'm going to ask if ORS would come forward to clarify any issues that have been stated. My recommendation would be that we move forward with the report as submitted. I don't know that there's anything of significance that can be resolved, and rather than reducing this to a contest between ORS and the controller's office, we simply want to advance this in a way that it is done. Now, if there is a substantial point of difference that we have to reconcile, then so be it. But it doesn't take this length of time. When we heard this matter several weeks ago, and it was disposed of at that time. There's no new issues here. More work has been done, and it is essentially the determination of ORS that we can move forward. Frankly, if ORS had come back and said that the Controller's Office understated the problem, I frankly believe that the committee would have had to go forward with that report. And so it's not a question of what we concluded or what they concluded. It's essentially a question of, is this the point at which we move this issue forward? And I think it is. Mr. President, we should hear from ORS. Ma'am?
Yes, good morning. My name is Helen Chris, and I'm from the Administrative and Research Services. We, as part of the Oversight Committee, reviewed the documentation that was received from the different agencies involved in this audit, the Controller's audit. And majority of the resolution involves documentation that was received from the agencies at a later point. And in fact, 183,000 of the 488,000 are documentation that was received by the department. And we've addressed that in our recommendation, in recommendation number 4 and number 6, asking or directing CDD to develop adjustments, expenditure adjustments as needed for the agencies. Another issue was the release of funds by the lead agencies to the subcontractor agencies. Again, we've addressed that in our recommendation number 6. As we've mentioned in our report, the total question cost in the Controller's audit was $488,000, and with the documentation that was received and reviewed by the Oversight Committee, it's now been reduced to $20,000. We are continuing to review whatever documentation is being received by the department, and we would hope to resolve all of the amounts that are in the Controller's report.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The committee met in July and early in July and heard the ORS report. Our letter, and this is what we wanted to be sure all 15 the council was aware of. Our letter came after the committee met. It arrived after. It provides a review of the ORS method of dealing with the items. Let me go to what I believe to be the bottom line, and that is that where there is a difference of opinion, in a matter of several $100,000, what we have found lacking, standing on the shoulders of the Bridges performance audit we did, was what we found lacking was any link to service in any condition of performance to require those monies. There's two losers in this calculation. One set of losers, ladies and gentlemen, are the taxpayers and the city treasury. The other losers are those young people who are at risk, who may or may not have gotten the service from these providers. And it is in the neighborhood of several $100,000, and that is a concern, and the opportunity to fully dialogue on this matter with the department and with ORS, I think could best be provided by having this part of it go back to committee. At the very least, I wanted you to know in this setting about our concerns because, as I mentioned 5 minutes ago, I recognize that my letter had not wound up in the council file just due to the normal administrative mechanisms which function. Let me say one other word regarding the comments made by Councilman Hernandez, who I know for years has done yeoman work in this area. I'm very well aware of that. And the audit we did was a performance audit effort. That was the audit of the entire program, but of course we did a fiscal analysis. So, as you know, we don't have to rehash all this in the setting unless someone wants to. We had overall concerns about whether the money was being well spent overall. We raised those concerns. I didn't find a lot of support here for our point of view, but we certainly raised them. In the performance area, we felt that best practices were not being used and so on and so forth. But in this fiscal area, as we looked at it, this separate component of it, what has concerned us is that while there have been various bookkeeping transactions made to take care of the late payment issue and also to take care of the revision to expenditure plans, what is still lacking is a link to the services being provided to those young people. Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, Mr. Hernandez wants to be heard.
All right. Mr. Tuttle, I was a supporter of the Controller's Office doing this audit, doing this performance review. And then when the report was issued, I had some real disappointments because something happened that wasn't right. And I will say that. When the report criticized the relationship between LAPD and law enforcement and Bridges programs, the reason I had a problem with that is I clearly understood what was happening between CLEAR and Nightingale and Burbank's Bridges program. And what the CLEAR people told us was your auditors came up and asked them questions on the telephone about Bridges, but they were not talking about the Bridges program they work with. And they didn't have any impression that the person asking the questions had any idea of what was going on. I'm just trying to explain it to you. Because I've been at meetings personally where I saw Bridges and probation and LAPD and CLEAR working hand in hand on a 100-mural program, the DA's office. And so when I was reading your audit, that stood out like a sore thumb to me. How could that happen? I'm just trying to explain it. How could it happen? Now, it happened. It happened. And the reality is, I think both sides had their reasons why that happened, and I could understand them. Now, as the chair of CED, what you need to understand is, over 7 years, working with the department, I also know the department's strengths and the department weaknesses. As someone who's worked with Bridges and see it evolved, I knew some of the strengths and some of the weaknesses. And we as politicians like to announce programs and say we're spending $12 million. Well, in fact, we're spending $9 because $3 million is savings that doesn't get spent. We are not out there as the service providers finding out that the Boys and Girls Club isn't getting paid because Catholic Charities didn't get an advance because this council hadn't taken an action 3 months after the program was supposed to have been kicked off. I mean, those are the kinds of things that happen in these growing pains. And so I see those things on an ongoing basis because we're introducing the motions to try and get the money on the streets. And sometimes it's things like not following the proper controller instructions that defer those checks from actually getting on the streets, and then we have to amend motions and things like that. So that's part of what this report identified, that kind of activity happening. But that is not the service provider's fault. I'm just trying to explain that. That's more of our fault, and we have to work on that end of it. So I'm just kind of explaining that this had to be a relationship of both sides taking blame for what they were the reason why these kinds of discrepancies had, and the report did not point those kinds of things out to us.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps staff can further explain where we are. And if you notice items number 4 and 6 in the recommendation, it deals preventively or preemptively with the issue before us in terms of disallowed costs. But it would seem to me further clarification is warranted. And so ORS or CDD, whoever can help the council understand this better, is desirable.
Bakr Khorsani from CDD. Basically, the biggest issue is the expenditure plan adjustments and also non-release of money by the lead agency to the sub. Now, basically, it is, if you look at it, it's a good way. They are controlling the money. They don't release the money till they get proper documentation and they are satisfied with the explanation. The bad thing is they took the money from CDD and they sit on that money. And when you look at it, the CDD required the contractor to close the contract within 45 days, and if they have not sent the money, return, and we return the money to general fund. And if the invoice come later, then we got to come to council for reappropriation. So the lead agency held the money, and when they got proper justification, they released the money. Certain expenditure were incurred after the controllers has went to do the audit, and we have got all the documentation. What we did in CDD, all the expenditure questioned by controller, we asked for cancel check, we asked for supporting documentation, we asked for payroll documentation, cost allocation. We went to each line of those questioned costs, and we disallowed 20,000. Before that, we disallowed about 15,000. We got a cash back. We disallowed 20,000 after the council approved it. We already got 16,000 out of that also. So we recovered all the disallowed to the tune of $33,000. And one agency has not paid the disallowed cost of 4,000. We have put them on sanction. So what is the new requirement is to go more often and have the expenditure plan amended timely basis, which we CDD accept, and I think is important. The other one we are asking is the lead agency release the money to sub upon full documentation. That means they have to send copies of cancel check, vouchers, but that will also create another problem is when the sub agency does not submit those on time, the money will not be released, and that may hold up our problem with closeout. But this new requirement is already in place. We are not only requiring this for the bridges subcontractor, but all our contractor, including the job training program and the human service delivery system.
Ms. Goldberg?
Well, we're going to be very happy to have all this information, but we'll probably not have any more subcontractors by the time we're done. Because the subcontractors don't get a large amount each. They get $10,000 to $40,000, something like that on the whole. And by the time the lead agencies are required to get the documentation for this small amount of money back to them, and their checks and their funding, as it's proposed in item 5 on this, is withheld, when it's done, they will be out of business and no longer providing services because they can't wait. I'll give you an example in my own area. Because a lead agency is not sure whether the letter from the board of directors of a very small agency really meets the EBO, they haven't been paid even though they've been providing services since July the 1st. All right, July, August, September, October. 3.5 months, they don't get a lot of money to begin with. They've gotten $0 from their lead agency because we have now created such panic that the letter, because they don't have a formal policy, they have a letter from their board that says we treat domestic partners exactly like we treat the married folks because we don't have benefits for anybody except the employee. So, and that was the letter. I saw a copy of it. And I'm just giving you an example. They still haven't been paid since July the 1st because the lead organization is not sure whether that will be satisfactory to the city. That's what we're creating in the real world out there. So at some point we have to balance the tracking, which I support and believe is necessary, with how long we withhold payment, or we're going to have lead agencies, because most of them are the larger organizations who can keep people on staff without getting money released to them. But the smaller subcontractors are going to say, I'm sorry, I can't do the counseling anymore. I can't do whatever it is they're doing because I have to make payroll every month for these folks, and you're holding up my check for every little thing in the world, which I understand the lead agencies are now frightened and are doing. So we have to find a balance here. What we're going to end up with is lead agencies and no subcontractors. And I'm very concerned about this because everybody, at least in the areas that I represent, are trying to comply, but nobody knows what exactly is enough documentation. And they're also afraid now that lead agencies are holding up money. And I don't blame the lead agencies either. They don't know whether you're going to say that wasn't sufficient or not. And it's getting to be rather painful out there.
Mr. Ridley Thomas. Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Thank you, Madam President. I think we can debate the pros and cons of the impact on the subcontractors, et cetera. From my point of view, that isn't the issue that I want to focus on at this juncture. We need to move this matter forward. And what's in question is whether or not the report that is before us adequately or accurately gets to the bottom of the outstanding issues. And my assumption is, having had the benefit of the controller's audit, having had the benefit of the CAO analysts and staff, in addition to that, subcontractors in that office doing work as independent auditors to get to the bottom of that, we now have a report that is ready to go forward. And it's with that in mind, having heard all of this discussion, that it would seem to me that the members of the council can be comfortable recognizing that due diligence has been done. Those who did not comply have been either sanctioned or their resources, the public resources recouped pursuant to the standing of ORS, who now makes this recommendation to us. And that's really where we are. I don't know how else to speak to this. The Controller's Office may want to go back and revisit it. I don't know what ultimately can be accomplished at that point. And I've not heard anyone from any of the departments say that there is reason to think that anything more will be found. The fact of the matter is, as I understand it, the Controller's Office did its first review. What we had is a review of the Controller's Office work by ORS and an independent auditor that leads to the conclusion that we have. So this is a more thorough review than we had before. I move approval.
Okay, Ms. Chick.
Yes, I rise to compliment all of the entities involved here, the Controller's Office, the CAO, because I refuse to switch and call you ORS, and the ad hoc committee and Mr. Ridley Thomas and all of its members, because what we are doing here, I think, is fairly unique and unprecedented and should be the role model for other government programs. Often, public dollars are used to create programs such as we have created, because we know there are not enough youth-oriented after-school programs that are providing our children with the kind of activities and support that they need. And often those dollars are put into place and then everyone walks away from them. That is not what we're doing here. Quite the opposite. We are scrutinizing. We are poking at the fiscal reports. We are going after missing dollars or unanswered questions. And equally importantly, we are going forward with a very full evaluation that's going to take how long, Mr. Ridley Thomas? This is not an overnight evaluation. It's an in-depth analysis of the program and the services.
Correct, at least 6 months.
Because we know how important it is to be effective in these programs. We care about delivering on the goals. And that is why we are looking at it both from a fiscal standpoint and from quality of services, to make sure we're accomplishing what we set out to do with these precious dollars, and that's to save our children. So I am comfortable, after the discussion today, that the scrutiny doesn't end here. It will continue. There are still improvements to be made, and I'm also looking forward to the evaluation coming back on the rest of the LA bridges. I believe we're going to have a national, if not international, program to model after when we get done with our self-critique. Thank you.
We have Mr. Ridley Thomas move the committee report.
Correct.
Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
That is approved. Mr. Tuttle, thank you for being here.
Thank you, John.
Next item.
Now it's time for public comment on non-agenda items.
Anybody want to be heard on public comment? We have no cards. Anybody want to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Motions for posting and referral.
If there's no objections, unanimous vote.
Council members request to be excused from council attendance. Councilmember Pacheco requests to be excused on Tuesday, October 24th to arrive at 11 a.m. for city business. This meets policy.
Unanimous vote.
Councilmember Chick requests to leave at 11:30 on November 3rd and 12:30 on November 8th and 11:15 on November 14th for both personal and city business meets policy.
Get Ruth a second. Unanimous vote? Unanimous vote.
The desk is clear.
Is there anything else before the council? Anything else before the council? If not, the council is adjourned.
Watching LA City View, Channel 35. Your city, your channel.